Have you ever found yourself scrolling through like the shorts or Instagram reels and you come across like a little promo ad thing for Amazon and they're telling you like all these products that you have to get, and they're these really cool gadgets that you can use, like a really cool techie trash can and a little thing that you put in your pasta and it starts singing when it's done, all that weird stuff. I have, and the first time I watched it, I'm like, ooh, I want everything. This is all so cool. And then when I watched it the second time, I have a completely different mindset. And I'm like, why was I so enthused and excited about all this stuff? I don't want any of it. This is all junk, or this is all just going to become junk. It's like that second time I get the clarity, I can sit back and go, wait. No, this is just, I got caught up in the hype. Today, I want to talk about some of the habits that are keeping you poor. This hits close to home. I struggle with consumerism like anybody else and not throwing away all my money as soon as I see something cool. I used to struggle with it a lot. This was a huge problem for me when I was younger. I would go to Target. I just need one thing. And then $100 later, I would have a cart full of junk. I think it's quite easy to fall into those traps because of the way we talk, because of the way we are educated, or really lack of education around this topic. If you think about it, school doesn't teach you much about budgeting or how to survive in life in general, I think. Depending on what school you went to, I don't know. But I think for most people, the education they received really didn't help them much in everyday, day-to-day life, which is what we need the most. And they always like to tell you, oh, you'll use algebra every day of your life. And you're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So much they could have taught us that they failed to. We'll get into that a little bit later. But a lot of the language that we have around our culture is problematic. And the way these companies are set up and the stores, they want to make it easy for you just to add a few more things into the cart. And it's enticing, right? The way they display it, and it's all colorful and nice. And, ooh, I could use this. I could find some kind of use for this. But what I find is a lot of that junk that we buy, like I said earlier with the little ad, it's not even an ad. I don't even think those are ads. I think it's just people, that's their content that they make. They're like, here, go buy all this stuff on Amazon. I'm not hating on Amazon. I love Amazon. I use it for everything, way too much stuff. I don't. I usually only use it for my practical needs, like paper towels and all that. But as I was saying, they make it easy to add more stuff. Shopping online, going to the store, all this stuff. It's so easy just to add on a few more things. And then they use language that fool you into thinking that you, quote unquote, saved money. They like to tell you at the bottom of the receipt, oh, today you saved $15. But in reality, you spent $85 to save $15. So you didn't save money. Which brings me to my next thing, this girl math BS that's now trending. I am so tired of girl math and that being a thing because, first of all, it paints this picture that girls are dumb and women are terrible with finances. I don't know why this is the reputation we're building for ourselves, and we are doing it. The women are doing this. This is not men going out saying like, oh, you guys are using girl math. No, this is women saying this about women. We have to stop. It's stupid, dumb mentality and trend, and it just enables us to keep up these poor behaviors and types of thinking. And that's really the issue, right? We keep telling ourselves, oh, I'm saving money. I'm gonna use this for something in the future. All this language that we use to fool ourselves into believing that what we're doing is good or productive, when in reality, it's anything but that. And like I said, I found myself doing this a lot when I was younger. I'd go to Target, buy way more stuff than I needed. I just needed the one thing. And we have made this stuff very socially acceptable, right? It's a thing. Everybody says it. Like, oh yeah, I just went in for one thing, you know? And I've found it to be helpful to just not go to those stores. I don't even go to Target like ever. I might do like a drive up. Is that what they call it? Or pick up, drive up thing where you just place the order and you go grab the things you need. Because then I'm not even tempted to go in there and look at all the stuff that they have. Same with Dollar Tree. I never go there anymore because I never really need anything from Dollar Tree. You just go there and you just feel like you're saving all this money because you're buying all the stuff for $1. But it's dumb. But I know some people do shop there. So I'm not hating on Dollar Tree. I do know that they have some things. I actually bought all my plates from Dollar Tree and I still use them. They're very durable, like all my bowls and plates. I'm not hating. I'm not hating on these companies, but we have to become more responsible because they're not going to do it for us. They want you to keep spending money. And chances are, if you clicked on this and you're watching this, you're listening to this, then you want to get out of that cycle. You want to save more money and you don't want to be spending money on things that you don't need because eventually a lot of that junk is just going to be thrown into a closet somewhere. If you think about wherever you are right now, if you're at your house, where you live, there's probably in a closet somewhere, the back of your closet, there's probably junk laying there that you bought at one point thinking that you were going to use. I know this is true because people have given me stuff that they're like, oh yeah, I intended to buy this. It was on sale. So I saved money, so I bought it. And I'm like, but you didn't even need it. Why did you buy it? So I'm trying to say this in a light kind of, not humorous tone, but just in a light way because I know this is a tough topic for people. This is really a bigger issue than I'm even really making it out to be. I really think this is something that we have to tackle at the core, and we have to become responsible of our own finances if we care. And we have to start changing the mindset that we have and the way we talk about consumerism. I'm not anti-consumerism, or I don't have a problem with capitalism, but overconsumption is problematic. I mean, I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, well, I don't have a problem with shopping online. I don't have a problem with using your phone, scrolling on social media, all these things that we always say, it's so bad, I gotta stop, it's bad, it's bad. It's not bad, you're doing it, right? You know what I say is bad? Killing innocent people is bad. That's really bad. And I'm not gonna do that. Because if I say that scrolling on my phone is bad, then why am I doing it? Then it's like, then I'm not in alignment with my own type of thinking and what I'm saying. The words that are coming out of my mouth are not in alignment with what I feel and what I think. So then I'm like, well, then I got to change my wording because I don't think it's bad. The problem is when you do it for 12 hours a day, that's not good. So it's all about finding something that works for you. Finding a system that works for you, putting your phone on. I know they have all those silent mode, and I kind of looked into that. I'm like, that's not for me. Like is it called? I don't even know what the stuff is called. Like, you know, do not disturb. I think that's what it's called. Do not disturb mode and sleep mode and all the stuff on your iPhone. Not for me, but I think because it's not that I'm paranoid, but I want to be available in case something were to happen. I'm just like, what if something happened at 3 a.m.? I need to answer a call. You're not going to wake me up anyway, so I don't even know. That's silly of me because I could sleep through the train passing me. Now we're so off topic. Oh my God. As I was saying, I think there's an issue with how we talk about these things, the language that we use and common phrases. For example, I'm sure you've heard this one before. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I agree with that. I am a just in case kind of person. I like to, make sure I have extras of things and make sure that I'm prepared, even if I might not need it. But that mentality can become problematic if we use it to justify unnecessary purchases. Something that I find quite common when people move, or they move into their first dorm, they're going to college, their first apartment, their first house, whatever. You're moving to a new space for the first time. If you go online, if you go on Pinterest, I'm a big fan of Pinterest. I've been using it for years. I love how you can create all the different boards for inspiration and everything. It's totally my thing. And I would often see these lists that you need, right? They're like, oh, these are all the essentials for your first place or for your first dorm. And I used to use that stuff in college and when I moved into my first apartment and all that. The problem is those lists are very general. And you could say, okay, but they're general enough where it's like stuff that everybody needs. But that's not the case, because not everybody's going to use a toaster. If you're gluten-free or you don't like bread like me. I know I'm so weird. Most people are not like that. Everybody loves bread. I don't like bread. Why would I need a toaster? I don't think I've ever owned a toaster in my life. My point is, if you're moving into a new place and you are on a budget, you're moving into your first apartment or your dorm, or you're in college and you're trying to save a few pennies, don't buy anything. I'm serious. Don't buy anything. Move in with what you have. Collect as much as you can from other people. When I first moved into my first apartment in college? I think it may have been my first apartment or dorm or something. Yeah, it was my first apartment because I had a kitchen. I had family give me all kinds of stuff, pots and pans. They're like, oh, here, I don't use this. Here's a garlic press that I still have to this day because I'm cheap and I don't like to replace stuff. If it ain't broke, you don't gotta fix it. My point is, don't buy anything until you need it. When you're standing in the kitchen, you go, you know what? I could really use a knife, a good quality knife. I cut up a lot of foods. I eat a lot of vegetables. A knife would do me good. Let's buy a nice quality knife. And that way you can slowly start collecting the things that you actually need based on what you use, based on the situation where you're standing there going, this is the thing that I need right now. Because so often we buy all this stuff, and I've seen it happen where people move out of their first place and they're like, oh, I bought this. I never touched it. I bought this. I never used it. I'm like, that could have been money you had in the bank. That could have been that meal that you needed when you were starving because it wasn't Friday yet. You hadn't received your next paycheck. We have to rethink how we approach our needs. So often we say we need this, I need that. We don't need any of this BS. So much of this stuff is just junk. I'm telling you, it'll just become junk in your closet. And you might think, well, it was just $12. But how many times have you bought something that was just $12? It adds up. And it adds up very fast. So I really would advise you, if you're moving out, it might be inconvenient at first, but I'm not saying don't buy anything. If you know there's something you're going to need, I need a pot. Excuse me, I need a pot so I can boil my, ramen noodles every night, or I'm going to need a microwave for sure. Then, of course, get the bare minimum essential. That's all I'm saying. Add as you go, especially now because shopping is so easy. You can get 2 day. It's not even 2-day delivery anymore. It's like same day. Most stuff on Amazon you can get the same day. So if that helps you at all, try not to. I have this on a not very sturdy setup, so it's kind of wobbly. If that works for you, I would advise you to try it. Don't over consume. It's just gonna lead to regret, and all that money you could have saved, you could have had it for something else that you really did need. Another thing is we're quick to throw things away when we don't want them. That's the other thing. Oh, well, I bought all this stuff and I don't want it, so I'm gonna throw it all in the trash. problem with fast fashion, buying really cheap stuff. That's why I mentioned the knife example, buy a nice quality knife. Being poor is really expensive because you have to buy everything usually more than once because you're not buying high quality things. And you usually have to pay for late fees and this and that. It's hard. It's really, really hard. But if you can start changing those habits from the beginning to avoid all that, it becomes a lot easier. It's never easy, but it's all about finding ways to make it easier. And buying all the stuff that you don't really need because someone convinced you to, because the companies convince you that you need these things, is silly. And we end up throwing it away. Another thing we often end up throwing away is like foods that are past the date that it says on there, so we throw it away. Learn the difference between an expiration date and a best buy date. They are not the same. Best buy is just telling you this is when we can ensure that it's at peak quality. After that, we can't guarantee it anymore. Expiration dates are different. After that, the product no longer works. So they have to put expiration dates on like medication and stuff. Although there are some, I don't want you to take what I'm saying word for word. Take this with a grain of salt and do your own research. But I know with some medication, I believe Advil and pain medication, you can still take it. It's just not going to be as potent. But again, please don't take that literally. Do your own research. I just want to be very careful here because I don't want to give people bad advice when it comes to medication. I'm just saying, be aware of that sometimes we're quick to throw things away when they aren't really expired, and we end up having a lot of food waste, a lot of product waste, because it says, oh, well, it's best by October 5th, and today is the 20th, so this is no longer good. That's not always the case. Same with like eggs. Eggs usually have a sell-by date, I've noticed. So after that date, they're good for like a month. Like perfectly fresh. You know an egg is fresh when there's like 2 rings. Like you crack it open and you see the ring of the white and then the second ring, and you know you're good. And also if it's bad, you're going to smell it. But don't throw stuff away just because it says, oh, it's Best Buy, because they want you to replace it. They want you to spend more money. That's the thing I'm trying to get at today. That's the thing that I'm trying to get you to understand. If you're trying to save money, stop giving away your money to these companies that just want you to keep buying. I want to share a story. I was downtown LA, this was many years ago, at like a 420 event. Afterwards, they had just like tables where they were selling edibles and weed and everything. And there was this guy there, and he bought a pack of probably like $20-$30 of edibles. And he says something that I will forever stick with me. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was basically like, well, doesn't matter, I'm late on rent anyway, or something along the lines of being late on rent, so screw it, I'm just going to buy some weed. That's the problem with our thinking. That's the kind of thinking that's going to keep us in the same place. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're broke. It doesn't matter that you're struggling right now. What are you going to do to change it? That's the thinking that we have to get at. That's the thing that I've had to retrain my brain for all this time. Like I said, I've gotten better over time, but I used to be terrible with this stuff. I used to buy so much junk. Then I got into like a minimalist phase where I was like, I'm not going to have anything. And I was like, okay, well, that's too extreme. I've kind of landed at a intentional living. I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm sure there's a cult or group out there that's claiming that word, but I just like to buy things with intention. Do I really need this right now? Is this going to hurt me financially? Is this a good choice to be making? It doesn't mean that you're going to make perfect decisions every day. Sometimes you want to splurge and treat yourself, and it's okay. But in general, it's about changing the mentality that you have around this. So you don't go buy a bag of edibles for $20 when you're late on rent, because you don't need weed to survive. But if you spend $20 on a meal, then I'm going to say, okay, that's a little different, because you need food to live. I was very fortunate growing up to have at least a very basic 101 understanding of economy, like taking care of your finances. I had a debit card from the time I was 12 years old, I would say. So my mom would put money on there every month. So I had like a budget where it wasn't just to buy whatever I wanted. Like, I was responsible for making sure that I had clothes, and she paid for food and stuff. But if I wanted new clothes, or she was like, oh, if you need a new winter jacket this season or boots, then you're gonna have to save up every month so you can afford it, because they're a little more expensive. So she taught us that skill from a young age, which I think is great. I was very, very fortunate to have that education from a young age. I didn't have a lot of education in school. Kind of, they touched on it, but mostly I think it was my parents doing. And I would watch kids who I was friends with, who I knew they were struggling with finances, and I'd watch them make these bad choices. Like, I'd be hanging out with a friend. She's like, oh yeah, we got to go to the gas station and buy toilet paper. And then we'd go to I didn't say anything, but I'm just in my head. I'm not a very judgy person. Like, in my head, I analyze. I'm very critical and analytical in my head, but I don't tell people how to live their life. I always say this, and I'm like, man, the irony of me having a podcast telling you, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just telling you, here's my experience, what I've learned. Maybe you can learn something from it. But you can click off of this and go, screw this. I'm going to go order a bunch of stuff on Amazon. That's your choice. It's your life to live however you wish. But I went to the gas station with her and got toilet paper, and I was like, this is so much more expensive than if you'd gone to like a grocery store or somewhere else. And I didn't say anything, but I'm thinking, like, that's really sad that her parents had her do that. So I understand that I have a privilege in how I grew up. Very, very privileged. I grew up, in a very progressive country, very socialistic country, where everybody had equal rights to everything pretty much. And there are very few people below the poverty line. There's not a lot of homeless people. So I was very fortunate, but I still think there are these habits that a lot of us have, especially, again, in our language, how we talk, how we think, that enables us to keep up a certain behavior. So what I would do, if you're struggling with this, take a look at that, get real with yourself. What am I really saying? What am I really spending my money on? Would I not rather have that money for something that I really need? And let me change today. So a year from today, I'm in a different situation. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be swimming in gold. You guys, the point of me saying all this isn't, oh, I'm here to tell you how to get rich. There's so many people out there. There's so many books that you can read on financial literacy, and so many books on how to get rich and how to think rich and all this stuff. I'm not here to talk about that. I would never give advice on that, because I wouldn't give advice on something that I haven't succeeded in myself. That would be silly. And I tell people that all the time. Don't listen to people who haven't succeeded in something. So I'm not here to tell you how to make a ton of money. I'm just telling you what you can do to stop spending so much money on things that you don't need. That's it. That's the only point of this. So I don't give financial advice on how to make money. That's not what we're getting at here. Although I can give you some books that I highly recommend. One of the ones in my library is Your Next 5 Steps. Man, I have context and I still can't read it from here. I think it's Your Next 5 Steps by Patrick Bet-David, I think. That was a great book for me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is another great book. That's also where I've gotten a lot of my renewed thinking from. So I'm here to share it because I think that's what life is about. Knowledge is meant to be shared, and I don't want to acquire all this knowledge just to hoard it for myself. So I just want to share. But I did want to add that caveat and be very clear that I am not here to tell you how to make money. That is not the point of this. I'm simply sharing some things that I've witnessed in my life and experienced, how people think and how problematic it can be. And if you want a different outcome, you have to start changing your actions, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. I hope you were able to learn something today, take something with you, and hopefully it'll improve your situation a little bit. I plan on making a little bit more, or similar content to this. If you're interested, if you have any questions, like I always say, let me know. Or if something that you want to share in your experience that's worked for you. Like I said, we're all here to learn from each other. I'm on this journey too. I'm trying to learn better myself. And what better way to do it than to do it with other people and do it together. I think it's more empowering that way. It's hard to do things alone when you're the only person in your friend group that's trying to save money and everyone else is trying to go out and go spend $80 on dinner every night. It gets hard. So it's hard. It's hard when you're trying to do things alone, but you have to stay focused on your end goal. What is it that you really want? What are you working towards? Are you saving towards something? You have to have that motivation. Otherwise, you're just going to go, screw it. It doesn't matter. Set a clear goal and start visualizing it. I'm trying to get out of debt. I'm trying to buy something, or I'm trying to invest, or I'm trying to get to travel to see my family abroad, something. Visualize the goal, figure out what it is, and write it out if you have to. Figure out exactly the dollar amounts that you need to save or what you need to change. So many of us are spending money on junk and these subscription services, and we forget, because they will do that. That's what they want you to do. They want you to subscribe to all this stuff and then forget about it. So they keep collecting your money, which is not fair. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.